If I could get you a Trackman for less than 200 bucks, would you take it? Well, of course. Trackman costs $25,000. It is the most sophisticated launch monitor on the market, but most people don't have $25,000 lying under their couch. So a lot of other competitors have popped up lately and started making their own devices. The hardware costs have come down significantly. So the question is, do they actually work and are they worth the money? 200 bucks, really, really inexpensive for a launch monitor. In fact, it's really unheard of. But what kind of data do they provide? And are they really accurate and consistent enough for you to use in your practice? Well, for me, with Rotary Swing students, you know that by now, I want you to do the vast majority of your work indoors in front of a mirror. So many of my students have set up little indoor simulators where they can go and hit balls into a net and see data like this, or just see it on their little iPad or their phone. And that's what these guys are great for, is for indoor use especially. They work great outdoors as well, of course. But indoors is typically where the Trackman and FlightScopes, the higher end launch monitors, have not done really well. They need a fair amount of distance to get accurate data. Now with these more inexpensive devices, how do they fare indoors? That's exactly what we're going to look at today, because these guys are super inexpensive. Now last year I put out a product very similar to this, is a little bit more expensive, called the SC300. And I had a few complaints via email, and it was a few complaints too many for me. If I'm going to put my name out there on something, it has to be the best. It has to really work. And so I spent the past year trying to find something to replace it that was accurate and consistent enough, that would provide good enough data that I would be willing to sell it to my students. So what I did is I found these two devices that I really, really like so far. They're not perfect, like no devices, but they are very, very reliable and consistent for your practice and provide unbelievably good results and good data for the price point. It's amazing. I'm going to show you some of the limitations today, and I'm going to show you what they're great at and what they're not so great at. But this one, the ES12, is under 200 bucks at RotarySwing.com, and what its primary use for is, what it really tracks, is ball speed. So this is the iPhone app. The apps are free for your phone or your iPad. You don't even have to have an app with, or the phone with you, because it actually has, both of them have LCD readouts on top that show you the distance. And this one we're going to talk about in a minute, and give you a lot more data. But this guy's going to show you the distance that you hit the ball and the ball speed. The two things that it's really going to be useful for in your practice is ball speed, velocity, and distance. Now, distance is a calculation, and this calculation is based on a million different parameters, and it's all proprietary to the software makers, but you can use it to get really, really accurate, reliable data, but don't rely on that. The one that it's actually measuring is ball speed. Velocity is the name of the game. If you want to know your true potential, whether or not you're maximizing your driver or your irons, the ball speed and the increase of ball speed as you work on your golf swing is what you really want to take a look at. So let's hit a couple shots here with my 7-iron. You have to set these devices to the club that it's using. So I've got it set to 7-iron on here. It's very simple to use. There's two buttons, an on-off button and a club button. They're very, this one's super simple to use. And then I'm going to have the iPhone app here, and I'm going to hit my 7-iron, and let's see what kind of results it's going to give me. Now, my typical distance with a 7-iron is about 175 yards, and the ball speed's in the 120 range if I go as a full swing. So let's see what happens if I make a normal swing here and hit with a 7-iron.
Distance 184 yards.
121 miles an hour, which, as I mentioned, 120 is a normal ball speed for me with a 7-iron, and the distance is 184. Now, there's a couple of things that you can change on here. First of all, these can be set to be total distance or just carry. This is set to total right now, so that includes roll. So a 7-iron is not going to roll very far. It's assuming a hard fairway and so on, like all these devices do. But that should be right on the money. That would carry about 175 yards, and the ball speed would be about 120, 121 miles an hour. Perfect. Now, that is good data. Let's hit one more. And I've had this device for over a month now, because I was really embarrassed when I put the SC300 out there, and so many people, or again, it was only a few people, but a few people complaining is a few too many for me. So what I found is, with these devices, is that when you start getting erratic data, it's from inconsistent strikes. And the same was true with the SC300. Now when I tested it, I took it out to the range and I hit a whole bucket of balls with it, and it was spot on for me. and I was using the distance markers and my laser rangefinder to make sure it was accurate. And it was really accurate for the price point. I think it was about 350 bucks. It was really, really reasonable. But then the complaints that I got, people were saying it was inconsistent and giving, you know, weird data and so on and so forth. And I never had that happen, and I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't reproduce the bad results. So then I tried to kind of figure out what happened, and I used the ES12 to try and figure out why why so many customers, or a few customers, were getting these weird results. What I found was that if I hit it skanky, it doesn't know what to do with it. So one thing you've got to understand about these, especially the ES12, it's calculating distance based on the parameters that it has. It only has one radar in it that's tracking that ball. It's not tracking club, so it doesn't know club head speed. It can only guess on smash factor. It can only guess on spin rate. It's not getting that type of data. What it's really for is if your ball speed's going up, you're either hitting it more solid or you're swinging faster, or both. That's progress. That's what you're looking for in your golf swing. But if you hit it chunky, then you're going to get some funky results. So I'm going to chunk one here on purpose just to show you that you can't blame the device if you don't hit it really well, because the calculations that it's having to make need a relatively clean strike with predictable results. If you hit it fat and off the hosel, it doesn't know what to do with that. There's no calculation and algorithm for that, because it's going to be all over the place depending on how you hit it off the hosel, the ball, all of these things. So let's hit one fat and see what happens.
Distance,
All right.
139
So,
yards.
ball speed went down significantly. You could hear that I chunked it. Distance went down. That's what I would expect to see. So, now, depending on the chunkiness of that shot and how much, you know, club or dirt got between the face and the ball and so on, that's going to slow down that velocity. But at least with the ES12, that is a ball speed that I would expect when I chunk a shot. That slowed the club head down. Now, if it tracked club head speed and ball speed, it would be able to give me more accurate results, but that 139 yard 7-iron chunk 7-iron is about what I would expect if I hit it really, really poor. It's probably going to go into the pond in front of the green there. With the ES14, we're going to see that it's going to be able to track the club and the ball and provide more accurate data. So that's a bad shot. Now let's hit one thin. Let's see what it does with a thin shot and see if it still produces, you know, reliable enough data that you can work with it on shots that aren't perfect.
Distance, 157 yards.
I didn't hit it as thin as I wanted to, but I did lose some speed. I hit it a little bit low on the face. I lost 7 yards there, 4 miles an hour ball speed. Again, pretty much what we'd expect. Let's hit one off. I'm going to try to hit it a little bit thin and off the toe. So this should go nowhere, but I'll still have a normal swing speed. I just won't chunk it this time. But it's going to be thin and off the toe. Oh gosh, that felt terrible. Okay. Man, I think I broke my wrist on that one. So, again, ball speed. Now, my club head speed was still pretty reasonable, but the ball speed was 106, and the distance was off. Now, honestly, I don't think there's any way that hitting it thin and off the toe like that is going to go 157 yards. There's just no way. I think that ball might have went 140, 130 yards. I hit it so bad. I think I broke my wrist in trying to do it. So, when you hit it weird like that, the computer, the algorithms, can't extrapolate enough data to put together a reliable data set to give you a real number. So if you hit it poorly, you need to just scratch that one off your list. Don't rely on it. You need to give these devices reliable data to go off of. So if you're hitting it off the heel, off the hosel, off the toe like I just did, and then don't worry about the results that you're going to get, because they are going to be inconsistent. So you need to hit the ball reasonably consistent in order to get consistent information from them. So let's just make sure, we'll back up, we'll hit a normal shot here and see if the ball speed and everything goes back up to normal.
Distance, 184 yards.
Literally exactly the same as the first one. I made the same swing, hit it just as solid as before. So, long story short, I wanted to make sure that these devices were reliable and accurate before I put them out to any of my Rotary Swing members, and I've shown you hitting it fat, off the toe, thin, so on and so forth. We're getting reliable data. For 200 bucks, or just under 200 bucks, that is a steal. It works, if you give it good data. If you're hitting it all over the club face and taking big divots before the ball, chunking it, thinning it, so on and so forth, don't expect any device, including a Trackman, to give you reliable data. Trackman, a lot of times, if you take it too deep of a divot, it'll just give you a bunch of dashes across the screen because it can't accurately track the ball because it's tracking stuff that flies. And it might misperceive the divot or a chunk of dirt for the ball. So it just says, nope, we don't trust that data. We're just going to X it all out. It's no good. These do the same thing, but they still try to give you information. I wish it would just say, you know what, I don't know what happened there, or just drop the shot, or give you some sort of information, but it doesn't. It gives you, its best guess, and those are the numbers that you expect. So far, so good. I feel good saying, okay, I'll sell this to my members because it does provide me good ball speed numbers. But what if you want something a little bit more? What if you want club data and smash factor and spin rate and all those things? Well, there you've got to step up to the ES14. So let me set up the ES14 and show you the same demonstration with it. Alright, so now I've got the ES14 set up. It sets up just as simple and easy as the ES12. You push the power button, select the club. Very, very simple to use. The cool thing about the ES14, as you step up in price, as you go from, I think the ES12 is $197 on RotarySwing.com, the ES14 is about $497. So what are you getting for $300 more? Well, the first thing that you get is that you can go in and change the lofts on each club. So you have to set the club that you're going to use so that it can change its algorithm to be more specific to that club. Because a lot of the work that's being done behind the scenes here is calculations. It has to measure what it can, but the rest it has to guess. It has to calculate with algorithms that are proprietary to the software and hardware manufacturer to get the numbers that we're looking for. Now, the more accurate data that you can input to those algorithms, the more accurate output that you're going to get. So in the case of the ES14, I can go in and change the 7-iron loft to be the true loft of my 7-iron. Now, as you know, the manufacturers have been in a battle for years to try and get you to buy their clubs and selling you on some gimmick that, oh, well, this 7-iron is going to be the longest 7-iron you've ever hit. Well, of course it is, because it's not a 7-iron, it's a 5-iron. It just says 7 on the bottom. They've jacked up the lofts and lengthened the shafts and lightened the shafts to try and trick you into buying a club to buy a better golf game. You can't buy a better golf game, you've got to work on it. And we want to work on it by measuring our progress, and that's what we're going to do with these launch monitors. So we can put in accurate data, we can change the loft that my 7-iron, my driver, my through-wood, every club in the bag, and it stores it in there, so now you're putting in more accurate data. So it knows that what the launch angle should be with a 7-iron of a loft of whatever loft it may be. So, and if you change your lofts for gapping purposes or what have you, you can change it in here. So now you're getting more accurate data, more accurate feedback. Also, we get ball speed like before. So this is the velocity that you saw before, but apart from this much prettier screen, we get a lot more data. So we're going to get club head speed. The ES14 has 2 radars in it. One for the ball and one for the club. So that is really, really cool because now we're going to get accurate club head speed, which we're going to see in just a moment. We're going to get spin data. We're going to get launch angle and smash factor. So now we're getting the really key stuff. The only thing that it doesn't give you that would be amazing, and you're going to have to step up quite a bit, is starting to get specific with the club, and you're starting to get path and club face angle and so on. But I'm going to talk about that in a future video when I review the 2020 from Earnest Sports. But for right now, let's focus on the 12 and the 14 because these are devices that anybody who's working on their golf swing can afford. Take home, practice in their basement, take it to the range with you on the golf course. This has the LCD screen on as well, so you don't even have to have your phone or iPad with you. You can see it right on the device. It's going to give you all the data that you see up here on this screen. So let's hit a couple and see how the data is the same or different from the ES12 that we were just hitting a second ago. So we know I got the same club here again, 7-iron, and let's see what happens. Alright, I didn't hit that great. So, this is good though. Look at my ball speed. I hit that pretty skanky. I chunked it a little bit and I whacked it off the toe. I went down to 110. We saw earlier my ball speed was 121. So, I hit a really crappy shot here because I iced myself setting up this device and froze and got cold and I hit a bad shot. That's okay. Club head speed, it's a little bit low for me. Club head speed with the 7-iron is typically be around 97, 96, 97. Spin rate, typically with the 7-iron is going to be a little bit above that. Launch angle in the ballpark, smash factor really low. Smash factor should be, mine's about 1.3 with the 7-iron. So you know I hit that really, really poorly. One other thing I want to talk about though on this screen before we go back and hit a couple more shots. This on the ES14 is only useful for trajectory and distance. It's not actually showing you direction. And that's important because it's kind of confusing. You're looking at this and it looks like a driving range and you're going to see a few shots. They're all going to kind of go in a little bit different places, but it's only just so you can differentiate between the shots that you hit. It's not actually measuring direction. It's not measuring side spin. For that, you get to step up to a more expensive device. So this is really just giving you the pure, real launch data, not actual shot shape and direction. So, all right, let's try to see if maybe I should warm up a little bit. I'm getting old. My old age, this aging thing is real. Huh? All right, let's try another one, and I'll try not to skank it. All right, that was decent.
Distance 185 yards.
So, well, what did we hear earlier? About 185, 187. My ball speed was 121, I think, earlier, when I was a little bit warmer. Club head speed a little bit low for me, but in the ballpark. Spin, as I mentioned earlier, should be a little bit higher than it was, usually around 71, 7200. Launch angle went down a little bit because I hit it a little bit better. And smash factor, again, a little bit soft for me, but all accurate data. And for a $500, just under $500 device, that's incredible. To get that kind of information, you could not get this before for under at least $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. And again, the Trackman at $25,000, you're having to step up a ton. You're going to get a lot more data with the Trackman, of course. But this is what you really need when you're practicing at home. This is going to show you, if your club head speed's going up, your ball speed's going up, smash factor's going up, you're improving. You're making progress. Data like this for this price is mind-blowing. It's incredible that you can get something like this, use it in your house, indoors, without needing a long distance like the Trackman does. The Trackman, you need at least 20 feet to really get any accurate indoor data. I'm only hitting this ball 5 feet, and I'm only 14 inches away from the device. So, to get that kind of data, it's amazing. So, go to RotarySwing.com if you're looking to start monitoring your progress. These, I didn't go into all the details on the apps on these. They have a ton of different features for games that you can play and gapping your clubs, and it tracks all your historical data so you can keep track of all your progress over time. That's what these devices are going to really help you with as you start to really improve your golf swing. You want to see that ball speed going up, club head speed going up, smash factor going up, and your scores going down.